All right. Good morning. Welcome to the MAPS 3 Citizens Advisory Board meeting. Our chairman, Tom McDaniel, is unable to attend, so I've been asked to preside, and I'll call the meeting to order. And before I move on, I want to congratulate Eric Winger, the new Public Works Director for Oklahoma City.
Thank you.
And my understanding, you will still be overseeing MAPS 3, including our group, which I'm glad to hear.
I will still be here, so
All right.
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. The next item of business will be the approval of the minutes, the July 28, 2011 MAPS 3 board meeting. You've had those in your possession. Are there any additions or corrections? If not, shall we approve them?
I move approval.
Second. Okay, been seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? They are approved. The next item of business is to recommend a resolution approving amendment number 1 to the contract for MAPS 3 program consultant services with ADG. Eric,
Yes.
walk us through that one.
I'd be happy to. As you've seen before, we have engaged the services of Architectural Design Group to act as program consultant for MAPS 3. Last month, we adopted a extension of their contract. We anticipate approximately 10 years of service to be renewed annually, and so last month, the extension was granted that will carry us through June of next year, and we'll reconsider those approvals subsequent to that. Well, the item that you have today is actually an amendment to the contract, and this increases the amount of services that ADG is currently providing. If you were to look at the exhibit that's included in the contract, we had contracted originally for planning and programming, establishing the program, obviously all those things that would occur during the first year. We're now at that point, now that we've initiated projects, that we're ready to do design reviews, construction reviews, cost estimating services, some additional functions, very similar to what we've done on MAPS for Kids and MAPS 1. We simply have included those additional services now in this contract as a part of this amendment. Also included is an increase in the fee to provide for those services. The total fee that is anticipated, and this would be a not-to-exceed value for the upcoming year, is $1,405,140. And this would include all of their staff, all of their sub-consultants, a wide range of services that we are anticipating. And again, as a not-to-exceed. So you'll see that there is an extensive list of cost estimating. If we get to those, we'll engage those. If we don't get to those are things that we'll get to in future years. But we've tried to do our best to package this. It is a draft. As being presented to you today, we are anticipating that there are minor changes that might need to be made to the contract, but we are asking for your consideration today and recommending it for City Council approval.
I move that we accept the recommendation. Do I have a second? Second. All right. Motion's been made and seconded to approve a recommended resolution approving amendment number 1 of the contract for ADG. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? It is recommended.
Don't say you didn't have a chance to get out of it.
All right. Moving right along. Next item of business is recommendation of another resolution, this one approving amendment number 1 and change order number 1 for the demolition of the Federal Post Office, an increase of $159,661 total. Eric, again, do you mind walking us through?
I would be happy to. This is going to be a typical document that you might see as we enter into construction on each of the projects. As an update on the demolition of the post office, if you've not visited the Upper Park area recently, the post office is now officially down. There's a pile of rubble. There's a large amount of steel that's yet to be removed, but the building is actually collapsed. And so you can now see the new Union frontage of this train station that's there in the background, and so it's quite a view to see. Change orders and amendments, when we talk about construction, are different than those for architectural contracts. Amendments to construction contracts are those in which we bid a unit price. At the time of bids, if we've received a cost per square foot or a cost per yard of a material, we can simply amend those contracts for that same cost, and we're virtually unlimited. And so you'll find that there's an amendment included in this document that is for additional asbestos-containing materials that just weren't anticipated, but we had a bid price for those, and so we're able to increase that simply. Change orders are items that weren't included in the bid but are necessary to complete the project and are negotiated. And so the change order values that you see here, there's actually 4 of them. They're the first items that you see on your memo. Asbestos-containing material, some structures that were identified with some additional piers. You'll see that that amendment is included, and we're able to combine those into a single document. This is what we believe is the first and final change order and amendment for this project since we're nearly complete. The total value with both are $159,661. One of the items I'll also probably bring to your attention, we will summarize those costs as a part of this memo, and you'll see that it's about 11% over the original cost. But again, a portion of that is just due to those extra materials that we simply had to remove, most of those being asbestos. But with that, I can answer any questions that you may have, and again, following your recommendation, we'd forward this to City Council.
Any questions? Okay, thanks, Eric. Do we have a motion to approve?
I move approval.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Motion's been made and seconded to recommend a resolution approving amendment number 1 and change order number 1 for the demolition of the Federal Post Office. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the recommendation's adopted. The next order of business is discussion or action on the MAPS 3 program. Eric, do we have anything you want to bring up?
We don't have anything additional today. I think one of the things that I would just call to your attention, and this was following our meeting last month, is that the City Council is scheduled to consider the implementation plan this upcoming Tuesday, the 30th. So with that, we are anticipating hopefully some direction as we'll move forward on some of the additional projects. Other projects that are actually seeing some movement, we did advertise the first trails and the first sidewalks projects, so we'll be going through a consultant selection process on both of those in this upcoming month. So 2 more projects that we'll add to the list of being engaged. We're also expecting the final plans for the river racecourse lighting to be completed in the next 60 to 90 days, and so that's something that we're actually going to see one of our first larger construction projects being ready and coming back for your recommendation and approval. But with that, I don't have any other program updates.
Thanks. Next item of business will be subcommittee reports. Before that, do any of the other board members have any general discussion on MAPS 3? No? Okay. Then moving on. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike. Thanks.
Quick question. Yeah, I generally see that we have a where we are sales tax to date. I didn't see that report in the packet, Eric.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that. So the June report will require a closure of the fiscal year, and it will traditionally take us a longer period of time since we're closing out the fiscal year. That's something that we'll bring to an upcoming meeting. We just simply don't have the information available today.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. We'll move on to the next one, is the subcommittee reports. I'll go around. I know some subcommittees didn't meet, but I'll still go around and ask if anybody has any comments about subcommittees they participate in. I'll start with the fairgrounds. We did not meet since the last advisory board meeting, and I have nothing else to update. Next would be the park, and Mike, do you have any update?
Yeah,
Did you guys meet?
Kim wasn't able to be here with us this morning, but we did meet yesterday.
Mike.
Kim wasn't able to be with us this morning, but the park subcommittee did meet yesterday. Had a good meeting. We had a presentation on the Convention Center site analysis and that whole study. Of course, because of where the Convention Center is going, there are implications, just the physical proximity of the park. And so there was a spirited conversation around about that. But I think that it was a good meeting, and I don't think I have anything other extraordinary to report.
Okay. Trails and sidewalks, Sue or Zane, either of you have a report?
No, other than we've advertised for a consultant, so we're excited to get that process going.
Okay, great. Modern streetcar, Nathaniel or Zane?
Sure. We met yesterday and had a record-fast meeting of 1 hour and 20 minutes. And we did cover a lot, though, as far as we now have a so-called Gantt chart, something that will show us the way forward, step by step. That's just for transit, so it breaks down into details. And so we'll know things like what is the propulsion technology, what are some of the engineering constraints, environmental considerations, what's on the list versus off the list as far as meeting federal requirements. We'll know things like that really as early as next year. And we now have a better understanding of how we'll work with consultants, whether with Jacobs on certain issues, ADG on other issues. And we have 2 parallel processes coordinating with the FTA and that study to get the federal funds, parallel with our process internally in MAPS. So we have a better understanding of that. We got a tour last month the Santa Fe Depot and have a good feel for some of the costs, initial costs that we might expect for land acquisition. And we talked about the breakout as far as how much will be for acquisition, how much will be for renovations, and then therefore how much is left over for the work that we're doing for the actual rail. And I don't have anything else as far as that. Zane, do you have anything to add?
Okay, thanks. Sue, back to you again on Convention Center. Any report?
No, we have not met.
Okay. And Mike, how about Senior Health and Wellness Center? Do you have anything?
Yeah, I'm actually pretty excited about, we're at that stage in the process that we looked at staff presented a preliminary draft RFP that we expect will come before this body next month, that we hope to seek our first institutional partner to determine who we will be working with for the first wellness center that hopefully will be decided by the end of the year where we'll be going with that. That might be and where that might be. So there were some concerns and questions that committee members had, and staff in their usual way are very receptive to trying to explain some of the things that we don't always understand. You guys do a really good job with that. And so, again, we expect that next month we'll have an RFP that hopefully will be ready to go out. Does that sum it up?
We also included some discussion that we plan to parallel the architectural selection process to some degree. That way we've got the architect and the partner, along with the subcommittee and the advisory board, really going down together and getting all the information, getting all the comments, and going through that process. This is obviously a first of its kind for Oklahoma City. We don't have a model to really follow for a wellness center like this one, so there's going to be a lot of activity in the upcoming year.
Okay. Thanks. And the last subcommittee, the Oklahoma River, do you have any update? Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Go ahead, Sue.
Just a comment, general comment from the committee. I'd just like to tell Amanda that we appreciate her keeping us on the straight and narrow due diligence path with the letter of the law, and wish her the best, because we know it's not too long now before you take time to be a mommy. So best wishes from us.
Thank you, Sue. Okay. Next, Eric, informational items.
We've included a couple of items for your information, and I can answer any questions that you have on these, but there's an additional real estate purchase agreement for parcel V5. We've also included a park acquisition status map update for your information as well. In the last several weeks, we've also moved a little bit closer to acquisition on V9 and V10, which are also shown on the drawings, but I think as you can see, there's more blue each month on the drawing showing completed activities as we move from south to north, and so that's also something that I think we'll see great activity on in the coming months. More properties being acquired and the upper park being readied for design and future construction. Again, I can answer any questions that you may have on this particular item.
Okay. Any questions? No? Okay. The acquisition map, which we all have, we have an update.
And I don't have any further updates on this. I mean, again, we'll bring these to you each month just as a status report. And if there are any questions, we're, of course, updating the Parks Subcommittee as we meet as well.
Okay. Any questions from anyone? Okay. Moving on to the next item. Any other comments by the board, in particular Councilman Mars? Do you have anything for us? Okay. Anyone else have any general comments from the board or the staff? Eric, you or any of the staff? Any citizens in attendance that would like to speak?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
One quick question, Eric. I know we've talked about this from time to time, and that has to do with an opportunity, hopefully in the not too distant future, perhaps when the weather is better, that we will be able to kind of do a physical tour of some of the projects, and kind of for those of us who need that sort of thing, or that's helpful. Just keep that in. I'm sure you are. It's still on your radar. But I want to make sure that's done before you move on and do your other stuff.
No, the tours of facilities, I think, is something that we're very much keeping a close handle on. I know Parks would like to go out and look at some of the park facilities. When we talked about transit, some of the transit opportunities have come up to visit, like the Santa Fe. But even on wellness centers, I do think that those are things that we're going to start studying as we start getting closer to those points of design and where we need that valuable input. So I think we'll have opportunities on each of the projects to do something on each, to put us in the field and witness that firsthand. Okay.
Okay. Anyone else? Any last comments? All right. Well, it is 10:16. I hope Chairman McDaniel will watch the video of this when he returns. Thank you all for attending, and we're adjourned.
Move adjourned.